What happens when a sincere Muslim walks into a truth minefield and actually listens? He came armed with Quranic miracles, but left with burning questions no imam prepared him for. 3 explosive revelations are coming your way at the end of the video. But first, watch as his entire script gets rewritten in real time. This changes everything.
I have an argument for you. In Islam, which was written 1,400 years ago, approximately, I don't know exactly the date. In the Quran, they say that the sun, the moon, and the earth all goes around in an orbit. And it was until...
And it says the sun orbits the earth.
And the sun has an orbit as well.
No, it says the sun orbits the earth, which is wrong.
No.
Yeah, I've read it 100 times. Because every Muslim brings the same arguments. Same arguments.
Can you give me like
so
less than 5 minutes?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to tell you what it says. You're going to go look it up, and you're going to realize it says exactly what I'm going to tell you it's going to say. So it says that the sun and the moon are in orbit, right, around the earth in that context.
Okay, I just want to look it up. Do you know which verse is it?
Nope.
Because I'm sure I read it like 2 days ago, but I don't remember.
Chapter 21 sound right? 21:33.
Okay, and it is who created the night and the day.
Hold on.
And
We're going to pull it up. We're going to read it as a team.
Yeah. Can you put it also in Arabic? Do you have it in Arabic?
Yep.
Because I know Arabic. Yep. I can
yes.
fully translate.
I said yes.
Okay.
And he is the one who created the day and night, the sun and the moon, each one traveling in an orbit.
Well, okay, فَالْقَمَرَ فُلْكٌ يَسْبَحُونَ. Okay, each one of them is traveling in an orbit. It doesn't say around the earth. Who created
it doesn't also say around the universe, right? Because the common consensus around this time, if we're using proper history, around this time is they believed that the sun orbited the earth. That was the general belief. So it's better to assume that he is talking about the context of the sun orbiting the earth than it is to say it's orbiting the Milky Way and this is a miracle. There's no reason for me to believe that that he knew that it was orbiting the Milky Way. And he's talking about that unless he specifically mentions it. Because we have other texts in this time period that says that the sun orbits the earth. So this would be the general thing that you would assume he's talking about.
Yes. But here, when you say in Arabic, kul, like each one of them is swimming in an orbit. He's not saying that the sun and the moon are...
Right, again, I know he's not saying directly around the earth directly, but if we use history, if everybody in history in this time period is saying the sun is orbiting the earth, and then all of a sudden Muhammad comes out and says the sun is orbiting, why would I assume he's talking about the Milky Way and not the earth?
Because he was illiterate. He doesn't even know...
What does illiterate have to do with anything?
How would he... Okay, different example. In the Quran, they say
but like, listen, it's just basic common sense. Muhammad is a guy who has 2 eyes, whether he can read or write or not. He looks up at the sky. He sees the moon go in a circle. He sees the sun go in a circle. And he says, the moon and the sun are orbiting. How the hell would I come to the conclusion that he's talking about the Milky Way?
If you're going to refute this argument, I'll go with you. Another argument why Islam is true.
But not just go with me, bro. Answer the question. Why would I assume he's talking about the Milky Way?
In my opinion, you're assuming that...
Why would I assume that he's talking about the Milky Way?
I'm just telling you, it says it clearly that the sun...
Why would I assume he's talking about the Milky Way?
I'm not telling you he's talking about the Milky Way. I'm just telling you
that is what you're telling me. You're telling me he was able to predict the sun's orbit around the Milky Way.
Not around the Milky Way. I'm just telling you that the sun...
Then what is the sun orbiting if it's not the Milky Way?
That it has an orbit. It's
around
not fixed.
What's it orbiting?
Now they know that it's around the Milky...
Right. So why would I think that Muhammad is talking about that here and it's a miracle?
He just said it in the same phrase. He said that the earth, the sun, and the moon all swim in an orbit.
No, it just says the night, sun, and the moon each traveling in an orbit. Again,
in
when
an orbit.
everybody else from that time period says the sun was orbiting the earth, why would I assume that Muhammad is talking about the orbit of the Milky Way?
Because if he wanted to take the same as the other, he would have said that the sun and the moon will orbit around the earth, but he didn't say.
Why would he say around the earth? Why would he say that?
Because it was the general knowledge
If I
back
say
then.
if I say to you right now that the moon is in orbit, what do you assume? Do I
that
have
it
to
has
say
an
around
orbit,
the
that
earth?
it goes around the earth. Now,
Yeah, do I have to say around the earth, or do you just know what I'm talking about?
now because it's common knowledge now.
Right. So it was common knowledge back then that the sun
Where
orbited the
in the
earth.
Sahara, where people didn't even
The
like,
whole world, it was common knowledge because that's how they perceived things, because they looked up and they saw it in orbit. So based off all the data that they had to assume that the sun was orbiting the earth because that's what it appeared to be. They didn't have the ability to send out large form telescopes or send out satellites to be able to see those types of things.
I can go with your point of view, but I can also say that he knew that the sun was going in an orbit around the Milky Way. But
Okay, prove that he knew it. I'm
not
that
gonna
he knew
prove
it.
it because I
Okay,
can't.
well then
because
you're
I
just
can't.
making shit up, bro.
I'm not making shit up. You're
You
just
are literally
assuming that.
making shit up.
Can I
Let's
speak?
just go into the tafsir and see what they had to say about it.
Who?
The tafsirs.
Yeah.
See if any one of them mentions.
If you're searching for Milky Way, no one's gonna tell you it's gonna go around and orbiting around the Milky Way. It's not.
So then
like
you're
the
then
Quran
you're just
is
making shit up.
No. Like, can I explain you the whole concept? What we believe is in
And the sun and the moon, the
let's
sun,
read it.
its own light and its own path, in orbit and allotted time, and the moon, which shines with different lights and travels on a different path and has its own allotted time, means revolving. Ibn Abbas says they revolve like a spinning wheel in a circle. So the sun is revolving like a spinning wheel in a circle?
What hadith is that?
It's Ibn Kathir. Or sorry, Anba. We can do Ibn Kathir. Or sorry, yeah, no, it was Ibn Kathir. My bad. So again, you're just making shit up to make it sound like a miracle. You guys have no argument for your religion. You should leave Islam. There's no reason to be a Muslim.
Can I tell you another argument?
If you concede that this is a stupid argument.
I'm not gonna say it's a stupid argument because I'm a believer.
You don't have to say it's stupid, but you got to concede that this is not an argument for Islam.
Okay, I'll go with you. It's not an argument for Islam.
Okay, then yeah, what's your other argument?
The other argument was, you have to know, like, I'm not a professional in it. I don't know the exact verses or the references, but
well, so then why are you a Muslim?
Because I believe in it, but I didn't study.
Well, why do you believe in it? Why would you follow something you didn't study?
Of course, I study. I know how to pray. I know when I fast.
You just said I believe in it, but I didn't study it. You just said
yeah.
That. Why are you a part of this religion, man?
Because
why?
It all makes sense for me.
But like, is that a good reason to follow things because it makes sense for you?
Let me give you a counter example. All the Christians around the world, do you think all of them study Christianity?
No, I think they're wrong too.
Okay, so you can't ask them why you're Christian if you're not studying Christians.
Yes, I can. Why can't I?
They're gonna tell you. Like, for your argument, all people who didn't study Christianity shouldn't be Christian.
They don't have a valid reason to be one. No.
Even if they believe, even if deep down, you know, when you talk to your God.
So this is there's some basic logic, right? You can be right for the wrong reasons. You know that, right?
Yes.
So you can, for example, my wife could leave for work. So I assume that she's at work, but in reality, she actually meant to skip work, and that she only ended up at work because she had to travel there to pick something up. So she actually wasn't going to work today. So I'd be right that she was at work, but I'd be wrong in the reason why she was there. I assume that she went to work to have a normal day of work, but she was actually playing hooky, but I was technically correct. So a Christian can be correct in being a Christian for the wrong reasons. Now, they might be a Christian because of personal experience. I think that's a valid reason because God revealed to himself in a way they couldn't deny. I think that's a valid reason, and that's a good reason. But there are a lot of Christians that are just cultural Christians, and I think they're Christians for the wrong reason, yet they are following the truth just by circumstance.
I'm not following the Islamic belief just by circumstance, because when I was
There is no
kid,
circumstance. I'm telling you, your religion is wrong. So there wouldn't be a circumstance. You're just in a wrong religion.
for example, you're being a little bit offensive, but in my opinion,
Why is it offensive?
Christianity also,
Hold
because
on. Why is it offensive?
you're attacking my religion. You're saying it's wrong, but in my opinion,
How's
I
that
didn't
offensive?
say.
Is 2
It's
plus
not
2 4?
offensive.
Is 2 plus 2 5?
No, it's 4.
It's
Exactly.
4. So why is it offensive to say it's wrong that it's not 5?
Okay, for argument's sake, let me retract it. It's not offensive. It's your point of view. You believe it's wrong. It's your point of view. But at the same time, I believe Christianity is wrong because, as you said, 2 plus 2 is equal 4, not 5.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question regarding.
Right now. I'm not telling you to become a Christian at this point. I do wish and hope that one day you become a Christian. But right now, before we can even talk about you being a Christian, we have to talk about why you're even a Muslim in the first place. We have to challenge your epistemology. And you, sir, just admitted that you're a Muslim for no reason at all.
I'm telling you, I'm Muslim because when I pray, when I fast, when I talk to my God, you get this feeling inside of you that you know that cannot be explained by something logical.
Okay, but Christians get the same feeling when they do their religion. So
I know.
That's not a good way to come to truth.
I'm not telling you that they don't feel the same way.
Right. So you just admitted that that's not a good reason to believe in Islam. You literally just admitted that.
No, I didn't admit.
You did. You said Christians feel the same thing. So by definition, it's not a good reason to be in Islam.
Yeah, I'm not telling you that when you talk to your God and you believe something, it's a good reason for you to become a Muslim. I'm just telling you why.
So you admit that you've over and over again, man, you've admitted there's no good reason for you to be a Muslim.
No, I'm telling you there are good reasons. Maybe I'm not aware of them.
What I'm saying is there's no good reason for you to be.
For me to be?
Yeah, because you're saying there's possibly a reason out there and I just don't know. But you, sir, have no good reason. You have not rationalized yourself into this religion. You are in this religion simply by circumstance, and it's not good. That's not a good reason to dedicate your whole life to a religion.
I'm not like, honestly speaking, I'm not dedicating all my life to my religion. I just know that.
And do you pray 5 times a day?
I don't pray, unfortunately, but I fast.
You fast, but you don't pray 5 times a day. Do you plan on doing pilgrimage?
Going to the Hajj? Yeah, eventually one day.
So you pretty much are. Your life is centered around your religion. Do you drink?
Yes.
Well, you know that's wrong.
I know it's a sin, but why can I try my best to stick to it.
I appreciate your honesty.
No, of course. But like I used to pray, now I stopped, and like it's something in my life. Like I am a believer in Islam, but I'm not a fully practitioner. That's why I told you at the beginning. But at the same time, like I get this feeling inside of me when I pray, not as in pray sujood and everything. When I pray to God, when I speak to God, I feel this feeling inside of me, and I know that other Christians also feel it, because I believe that we have the same God, that we're praying to the same God. Even if some people believe that there are 3 gods, we believe that there is one God, Muhammad is a prophet or no, we're speaking to the same God, and that's why we have the same feeling inside of us.
Maybe that is why you have the same feeling, but that's not a good reason to be a Muslim.
Probably, for argument's sake, maybe I don't have a good reason. Like, for example, when I said about the Earth and the Sun orbiting, it was like a reason for me. You have also like so many other things in the Quran. When they tell you in the Quran, there's a verse that's saying that two beaches, they come together, but they are separated.
But Aristotle talked about that 2,000 years before the Quran.
I had no idea about this.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Listen, almost every one of these miracle claims in the Quran has been debunked. Have you ever been to a website called answeringislam.com?
No.
Go to that website, spend some time on there, because a lot of these claims, like for example, you might bring up the miracle that how did they know that there was iron in the meteorites? Because it talks about iron coming down from the sky. Well, ancient Egypt talked about that 4,000 years before the Quran. You might bring up the embryology in the Quran. Well, Hippocrates and Aristotle talked about that about 2,000 years before the Quran. And then other so-called, you might bring up the pulsing star. Well, that word pulsing is knocking. It's a knocking sound, right? And it's very vague and very cryptic. It can, it just could mean the star that they're looking at that's blinking. So there is no valid reason. And even in the Quran itself, it gives a litmus test. It says, if anybody could produce a surah just like the Quran, let them do so and they'll disprove it, right? You agree with that?
Yeah.
Except the problem is, throughout the whole Quran, there's many verses where the Quran quotes other people. So it quotes a bird. For example, there's a verse where a bird speaks. There's another verse where it's quoting another guy speaking. Those people, by definition, are producing surahs just as good as the Quran, because what they're saying is ending up in the Quran. So the Quran is self-refuting.
I don't know about the whole bird thing speaking or other people speaking.
I mean, just read the Quran. You'll see it quotes people. And if it's quoting other people, those people produce surahs just as good as the Quran.
I get your argument. Like, if you don't mind me going off topic, not like a good reason for you to be a Muslim or anything. Can I ask about Christianity?
Well, are you just trying to debate Christianity? Because I want to stay on the topic of the debate. But if you have a legit question, I'm you're curious, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Like, you're gonna see it as a debate. I'm not trying to debate because I saw so many videos regarding like contradictions in the Bible. If you're gonna see it as a debate, I can understand you don't want to do it on your platform.
What's your question?
Okay, so basically, the one that I told you about, like how Jesus cannot know when's the last day. There's another point regarding, I don't know what exactly was it, like he was 22 years old or 42, the king. And in one verse they say that he was
yeah. So that's just a copyist there. That's just somebody zigged and they should have zagged. So one says 22, one says 42. The consensus is that he was 42, right? It's just somebody through the manuscripts throughout years accidentally wrote one letter, right? When you're looking at Hebrew, it's just a little jot or a little dot or a little tittle, right? Could change the whole meaning of a word. And it's just one copyist got tired as he was writing and he accidentally zigged when he should have zagged, and it ended up being 22, but it's since been corrected. If you read most modern Bibles now, they both say 42.
Okay, so it's 42.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this and the other one. Could you explain?
Jesus not knowing the hour?
Yeah.
There's two arguments for that. Both are good arguments. First argument is he does know the hour, because you can read in the Gospel of John that he knows all things. This is said about 4 times throughout the Gospel of John, that he knows all things. One part is like he says to Peter, he says, Peter, do you love me? And he says, Lord, we know you know all things. Of course I love you. That's one argument. And then when Jesus says he doesn't know, what he's saying is it's not for him to reveal, for it's only for the Father to reveal. We get this because in Colossians 2, Paul says, I know nothing but Christ Jesus. Well, Paul's not saying he doesn't know anything but Christ Jesus. He's saying I'm only revealing Christ Jesus. That's one argument. And a lot of apologists hold to that argument. A lot of people are going to say that's the only argument. My personal belief is that Jesus is fully human. He took on fully human flesh, and therefore he had limited knowledge because he limited himself, according to Philippians 2. At any point, if he wanted to know, he could know. He'd just have the God part of him, the God nature of him, reveal that to him. This is something we call the hypostatic union. 2 natures, right, joined as one. So we have Jesus, the person, persisting in 2 natures, persisting in the God nature, persisting in the human nature. The human nature is limited. Human nature has to use the washroom. Human nature gets tired. Human nature doesn't know things. But the God nature has all knowledge, doesn't have any of those issues. And as the God nature seems fit, can reveal that information to the human nature.
Okay. So you're going with your own, like, it's not your own.
It's not my own. No, neither one of my arguments are my own. I'm just giving you the more popular argument, and then I'm giving you the less popular argument, but I think is correct.
Okay, I get you. Okay, so that was about it. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. I appreciate you as a person. You're very honest. You're very cordial. You're very down to earth. You speak very well. So I thank you for your time. And I thank you for dealing with me, considering I come across like a douchebag, even though I don't mean to.
Thank you, man.
All right, man. God bless. Nice guy, guys. Pray for him. I think he's an honest guy. So pray for him, and that the knowledge of truth may come upon him, no matter what it might be. If we're wrong, let the knowledge of truth come to him. But if we're right, let knowledge of truth come to him. Pray for that, please.
Before you go, here are 3 revelations from the video. 1. The Quran didn't predict science. It echoed 7th century myths. Game over. 2. Every so-called miracle in the Quran crumbles under actual science, not faith. 3. While Quranic claims fell apart, the Bible stood unshaken. Truth wins. Agree? Disagree? Blow up the comments and hit subscribe, because the truth is like this. It's contagious.